Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. It's great to be here with you in person. Wow, this chair's.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's kick it off today, Sue, by talking a little bit about you and your background. So you have quite the resume. You spent 18 years on the agency side of the business. I think about almost 10 years at Starcom, and we have some Publicis folks in the audience today. And then you go client side about 5 years ago. Can you talk to us a little bit about that transition?
Yeah, it was always on my roadmap to go client side. I think I just have a curiosity of like the 5 whys, but why are you giving me this direction? What does that actually impact? I always knew, media and creative are probably like this much of the total pie, over on the client side. So really trying to understand what that all meant and came together. And it's been every year, I feel like I'm consistently learning. So I oversee a team of 24 folks. We lead experience planning. So we kind of touch all different consumer channels and e-com and well-being and philanthropy, all of the things that we could bring consumer experiences together. So again, seeing much more of the pie than just media, but also the impact. I have to deal with supply chain. I have to deal with pricing, all those things that kind of impact our plans and how we can be agile and flexible. So I think it's just been a great kind of learning experience coming on this side. I think it's also has helped me explain when I need to request something from our agency partners, why I'm requesting what I'm requesting. I think that kind of helps, a little bit more and provide a little bit more detail. So
I think it's interesting because you actually led media strategy when you were at Starcom, and that was when you were first exposed to the Kellogg brand. You worked on Kellogg's. So, coming over to the client side, do you, approach your media, your planning any differently than you did when you were on agency side?
I do because, I see truly the value of expanding even more of our partnerships and things that we do. I oversee promotions over also like how can we extend all the great things that we do from a media partnership side to our owned assets. So it's just kind of giving me a further purview of all the things that we can do in the media space. So
it's great. And you have a very big role over there at Kellogg's. You lead the experience planning team for over 15 portfolio brands with the goal of creating integrated consumer experiences. I want to make sure I get that right. And I also want to dive into that planning process because I know it's evolved, recently over the last couple of years. And talk about some of the great work that you and your team have done. But before we go there, I think to set that up, let's talk about the parent company in Kellogg's and the overall brand mission, because I think that tees up some of your work really well.
Yeah. And thanks, Paul, for even highlighting our mission. And just to kind of restate what that is, it's creating better days and a place at a table for everyone with our trusted brands. It truly is at the heart and soul of what Kellogg's does. We actually are born out of the WK Foundation that we do keep separate, but we have so much of an activity as far as like ESG. It powers our brands, it powers our talent. It's just kind of embedded throughout. And I think what's been great, even over the last couple of years, is how it really has taken an impact into our brand market plans. So you actually see it coming to life. You see it coming into the marketplace. Because what we're seeing is it drives business results. When there's a brand purpose and you're resonating with our core audiences, that's what's really helping us. So, it's been a great kind of evolution. That vision was just kind of released in 2020, and I feel like we've just accelerated that quite a bit.
So I think that this is a great place for us to showcase some of the work that you do, especially as it relates to that brand purpose of ED&I. And when we were talking earlier, I kind of wrote down this note that, the focus is building the customer experience with cultural relevance at the forefront. And certainly diversity, equity, inclusion is at the forefront for so many brands. So I thought we would highlight the All Together cereal campaign that you put together for Spirit Day. And we have a video that kind of frames it up for us.
Today is Spirit Day.
Today is Spirit Day, a day to stand up against bullying.
Kellogg's is releasing a cereal called All Together, and they're mixing cereals and their mascots.
A mashup it tried last year called All Together cereal.
Kellogg's is combining 6 cereals: Frosted Flakes, Fruit Loops, Rice Krispies, Frosted Mini Wheats, Raisin Bran, and Corn Flakes.
Spirit Day is extremely important for people who they don't know that there's people out there waiting for them to support them.
And I think it's really nice to have a Spirit Day like this. I just met new friends.
It's great work. I love this. And it became a collector's item. I saw that towards the end. Somebody paid $1,500 for a box.
Yeah.
Is it on the shelves all the time or limited release?
It
or-
was, well, and just a little bit of background. So this was a limited release, and this was, it started in actually 2018. And we've kind of had different iterations over the course of the year, but it started with our senior leadership saying, we've had this partnership with GLAD for 2 years. How do we make it bigger? And we first did, a little bit of research, worked with our agency partners, and we found like, what is our right way in? We want to be authentic. We don't want to just put something out there, but really resonate. And we found that, so Spirit Day, for those that aren't aware, it's a holiday. Well, it's an event that happens from GLAD created it in October, and it's to support LGBTQ plus anti-bullying efforts toward youth. And when we did some research, we said, if we really want to get bigger on Spirit Day, what can we do? And we found, there's research for, kids are being bullied. Guess what? They're not eating breakfast. How can Kellogg's be that support at the breakfast table by bringing and having everyone have a place at the table, bringing all our mascots and support? And that's what created the All Together cereal. Now, when this started in 2018, we had a limited budget. That was actually an empty box that started in 2018 that we brought to our Kellogg's Cafe. And we said, hey, come support GLAD, sign the pledge, come here, fill your box with a mix of cereals, make it your own. And that's how it started. Then in 2019, we took the next step and we truly wanted to have all together cereal. However, in the world of Kellogg's, we make loops somewhere, we make frosted mini wheats somewhere else, right? It's all over the country. So it's very hard from a production standpoint to get it all together. So again, we got scrappy and we said, what can we do? Well, we have these little travel boxes, right? All those fun travel boxes that you see, we put 6 of them in one box. That was in 2018 that you saw. And we sold the box online and we kept getting asked, like, when are you going to have this in store? When are you going to have it in store? And so last year we actually switched it from Spirit Day to Pride, and we had Together with Pride cereal. And it was on shelves at Walmart and Target and all our fabulous retailers. So it's just been great. It literally started with an empty box that sold for $1,500 on eBay. And now it kind of came to stores at shelf. And it just goes to show, if you have an authentic idea, you're speaking to the community, it brings it to life.
Definitely. And it goes so back to the core mission of the company.
Correct.
And,
Yes.
kind of leads me to my next question a little bit about you, because even personally in researching you, you're obviously somebody who's also very mission driven and socially conscious. Is that what, attracted you to Kellogg or vice versa? I mean, your work kind of, blends in with that.
Yeah, definitely was a big piece of what brought me to Kellogg. Even from my Starcom days, I was able to pitch a deal, an idea there at Starcom to start a pro bono effort, and it actually grew to about 50 volunteers. We were donating $15 million worth of media to Ad Council and Feeding America. it was something that I just always, I love to, drive that impact, but embed it into your everyday. It shouldn't just be something that sits over here and I'm going to go volunteer my hours, but how does it actually impact in your day to day? And Kellogg's just, obviously working on the agency side at Kellogg, but having that ability to come over is just great. And again, I see it directly through all the interviews that I handle, like from the interns, from our brand managers. The first thing I always ask, why do you want to come to Kellogg's? What makes you interested? Well, I saw on your website, you do this thing called Better Days. You're feeding millions of people. That's the draw of why people come, let alone we do have some pretty fabulous brands, if I don't say so myself, but it is that kind of purpose-driven effort that's really drawn some great talent our way.
Yeah, and that's like the real meaningful stuff. But let's shift gears a little bit and get into sort of tactical, the media planning, the media and the planning process, because, again, when we were talking earlier, your planning the way you approach planning has changed a little bit and shifted from being so focused on that big branding effort with TV to more of a full funnel approach. Can you tell us a little bit about that process and what that looks like today? And I know it's kind of new, but maybe any early results.
Yeah. No, that's, and again, it's even related even to some of the last conversation that was just happening up on stage. It's, obviously Kellogg's is known for having the big brands that live on TV. We have huge household penetrations, but we know we have those other audiences and specific audiences that we need to resonate with and be culturally relevant with. And so we are switching, and really thinking about a full funnel approach. How are you, pushing these folks from and changing those behaviors from awareness to consideration to conversion. And it's really, shifting our ways of how we're planning, getting us more into retail media, into the shoppable media space. I think we have a lot to, dive into from a data-driven approach as well. We have a huge first-party database. How are we leveraging that data all the way upstream, all the way through? We know it's the right thing to do. We've seen, based on research, those campaigns that are built on a full funnel versus one stage drives 45% higher ROI. So we know that is kind of the place that we need to be. I think a big part, and I welcome any other ideas or what other teams are working on this, but is truly understanding the metrics at each stage. How do we know we're moving the needle from the awareness to the consideration? We're very ROI driven, as any normal CPG company is, but really trying to identify those key metrics.
So speaking of that in data, and I know we don't have a video to show you, but it is an interesting campaign with Eggo, and that was sort of a data focused campaign. You want to speak a little bit about that?
Yeah. Yeah, I love this one. So with Eggo, again, always kind of born out of a key research or insight that we know kind of the most stressful moment of any parent's day is the morning, trying to get out the door. Do you have your lunch? Do you have your breakfast? And what we switched our kind of creative direction, instead of we actually switched Lego with Eggo. So let go of the stress, have Eggo in your morning, your kids can make it, right? So we focused that. And what we did is we actually created an algorithm where we were able to kind of map across the social platforms to really understand when are those moments of high stress? When does that happen? If there was a mid kind of low moment, we offered maybe a quick tip that people can do in the morning. If stress became high, one of the highest moments of stress is, guess what? The day after daylight savings time, right? Here, everyone's an hour off. We gave away free waffles. We ended up giving away 1 million free boxes of Eggos. And so it was just great to really, we were monitoring, as all these things were happening. And we actually called it the logometer. We actually had kind of a measuring stick for parent stress in the morning. So, and it was great. And we literally just won a data-driven Effie for that one. So
congratulations. The logometer is off the charts. So Upfront Month is just coming to a close here. We've had the digital new fronts, the podcast upfronts, the broadcast upfronts, and I know you were in New York. Yep. Was it last week or the week before? It all blends together, right? To catch a couple of sessions. Can you kind of share with us your key takeaways? from the upfronts?
Yeah. And I think a lot of it's been covered. I think the most kind of interesting one, obviously, which all our ears kind of like perk to, is obviously the ads now coming into streaming services, right? Whoever thought Netflix was actually going to go that way? Disney Plus was talking a lot about that. I think that it also opens up a whole new kind of opportunity for understanding the audience data of Netflix, right? That's definitely been a closed door. So that was definitely a big piece. I think we're constantly always looking for new content. Also, what I loved was like the amount of diverse creators creating that content, telling their stories. Again, that kind of really highlights kind of those areas that we wanna go into. So, and obviously, I think a big thing too, just actually having Brandcast at the upfronts, not the new fronts, right? You could see how all these worlds continue to merge. So.
Was there a company that surprised you the most, a media company that was like, wow?
I was thinking if there was something that really surprised me. I mean, obviously it's a lot of like shows, showcase and things like that. I think, YouTube, I think did a fantastic job in really trying to highlight, again, their creators, right? I think there's a big thing there's just something from big media companies to the creator economy, right? It is those creators. We got to meet Mr. Beast, who has, I forgot how many subscribers, but and they had Lizzo. Lizzo was born on YouTube, right? And look at her now. So I think it's not so much a surprise, but you truly see the impact of what these creators can do. And I'm always looking to see how can we align to these creators, be more culturally relevant for some of our brands. So.
And is there anything, we have a bunch of, media and marketing folks in the room, something that we should all be keeping in mind as we get into the new season? Like, again, takeaways?
Yeah. I think, one of the things that we're consistently trying to think of at Kellogg is obviously like, what's that flexibility? So we can always build in a little bit of flexibility to take on what's new. We always know there's new innovation coming up. There's emerging channels. There's all of those things. So I think, we're always trying to keep that flexibility within our plans as like, what's the next thing that's out there that we can go capture our audience.
I think that's a good segue into our next example of some of your brand work, because this one here that we're going to showcase, Paul mentioned it, was Pop-Tarts, and you really leaned into Gen Z and influencers, and that kind of plays into social media. And to your point, like some of these influencers are coming up and they're popular because of what they're doing on YouTube. So we can set this up by playing another video, and then you can speak to this campaign.
How did Pop-Tarts get Gen Z fans whose only brand is authenticity to line up in droves to slap our brand all over their stuff? Well, we started with respect, because Gen Z has serious impact on household penetration. They're the influencers of their families. They're also notoriously hard to convince creators looking to remake and remix everything. So we decided to invite them to use our iconic colors, swirls, and sprinkles as the palette for their creativity. But to get Gen Z to care, we had to influence them. Enter Cole Bennett, an insanely influential Gen Z kingmaker with a vision, vibe, and ethos that matched our brand. Oh, and he loves Pop-Tarts too. Together, we launched the Pop-Tarts Frost Shop, where fans could turn their boring basics into unique works of art. Cole and team even frosted our packaging, designing a new limited edition Pop-Tarts box. To promote the Frost Shop, we unveiled a first look of the collab in social to Cole's millions and millions of followers, and they popped off. We shared a steady stream of content from the Frost Shop itself, reaching fans far and wide as lucky teens co-created hype-worthy merch with Cole. And the next day, the limited edition box went on sale, selling out in 90 seconds and appearing on resale sites for up to $500, more than 200 times the retail price of a standard 8-count box. Cole's authentic enthusiasm for the collab was contagious, making his value astronomical. Not only did he post twice as much content as he was contracted for, but his genuine excitement spread to his famous friends, whose organic posts were worth way more than what we paid for the total influencer partnership. And most importantly, it made Gen Z like Pop-Tarts more. Online net sentiment was more than 5 times higher for this program than for the brand overall. Turns out, by helping Gen Z reinvent what was in their closet, we reinvented Pop-Tarts in their eyes.
I have to start collecting your products and then selling them on eBay. So talk a little bit about this. This was a back to school campaign, right? And
Yeah, this happened last year, and like we said, Gen Z, that's our core audience here, and this is getting back into fall for back to school, and we're like, what is it? What's that again? Key insight. What do kids wear on their first day of school, right? How do they show up? And so why not, really think about how can Pop-Tarts play a key role there and bling out the gear that they're going to be wearing. So Cole Bennett, who's amazing in and of itself, I think he's now 27 years old, businessman, owns this, Lyrical Lemonade, and has launched, I don't know how many kind of music stars based on his like video work. But, again, it just hit a key kind of note with the Gen Z audience. And then you see the collectability, you're driving on that cultural relevance. And it really hit home on our creative direction is like, what would Pop-Tarts do? So you enter Pop-Tarts in any moment, it's going to take it up, 8 different levels. And so that's kind of like the theme that we've been kind of living with Pop-Tarts is like, you enter Pop-Tarts into different situations and how does it bring that up a notch? So kind of interesting. Just recently, we found another insight where people, the way that they eat Pop-Tarts, they put butter on them. So we actually partnered with a butter company and created Pop-Tarts butter, which sold out in an hour, but who knew? Again.
Why would you need butter on top of a Pop-Tart? I mean,
why not?
Why not? I want to leave some time for some Q&A, but like a couple, just real briefly, because this is a campaign. I think it's either launching tomorrow or the product's available tomorrow. And as an audio company, I kind of love this, how it came together. It's for CheezIt and some science behind it. Somehow somebody put together that hip hop music actually makes the cheese age in a certain way or taste a certain way. So do you want to speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, I know. Talk about these far stretched ideas, right? And CheezIt is always the one to kind of, what is that next kind of iteration, or what else can we do with CheezIt? We've had CheezIt and wine. We've had CheezIt stuffed, partnered with Pizza Hut and cheese stuffed pizza crust. And so this is kind of that next iteration where we found in 2019, there's actually a Swiss study that says you age cheese to hip hop music, and it actually enhances the flavor and the smell of the cheese. So our innovation team said, well, why don't we try that? So they actually aged cheese that goes into the CheezIt for 6.5 months. We partnered with Pandora to create this kind of music list that this cheese was listening to, sitting in. I don't even know what you like. I don't know what you say, aging to. And now the cheeses have been created. It's now the CheezIt Pandora kind of flavor, if you will. It launches tomorrow. You can buy yours online at 12 o'clock. And it comes with a 90-day free subscription to Pandora. So just something interesting we're trying.
And hold on to it because you can probably sell it on eBay soon for thousands of dollars. So wrap with one last question. Again, being in the audio space, how do you feel about audio? What are you listening to? And what do you like?
Yeah, big fan of audio, music, podcasts, all the things. I have a lot of long trips to Battle Creek, that 2.5-hour drive. I need something to fill the space. So what I've been listening to, and it's probably a huge influence from my 10-year-old who is now really into guitar playing. Beatles are her favorite thing. She has 20 different Beatles shirts. She's got all these things. So we're constantly listening to the Beatles on XM. And then for me, podcasts, I love all the range of podcasts. Just listened to one the other day for Next Big Idea, really think about building culture within teams. So yeah, have a wide range of listening.
Excellent. Well, why don't we open it up for any questions? Anything? CheezIts, Pop-Tarts.
Oh, okay.
I get a microphone.
Oh.
Retail media world changed for dynamic?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Everything shoppable.
Yep. Yep. I mean, we have it completely changed what we have done. We continue to increase investment in all of those spaces as well as it continues to diversify. So I think it plays just a key role when they talked about like the full funnel approach and how are we balancing, that kind of conversion based media with more of the awareness based media. Again, it's a lot that we have to think about as far as what the metrics are. There's tends to either be a higher CPM or just like a nuance with the ROI to really balance kind of what we do get from a TV buy. So, but it's definitely a big part of our mix. So,
Yeah. It does work. Hi. it's sort of like an add-on to that previous question, but the experiences that you create for the brands, like what is, if you can share like sort of the percentage of spend on something like that that's more brand led versus more like couponing or more like direct sales?
Yeah. And again, I think it's going to continue to switch. So on what we're going with there, I mean, right now from conversion-based media for a typical brand, I would say maybe it's like 20% conversion media and 80, but I do see that kind of, I see that changing. Again, as we kind of continue to dive into what are those, how are we really identifying those key audiences? How are we, those that we want to recruit, reclaim, retain? How are we really thinking about those? And we actually might probably going to be investing more in conversion media. Great question.
Anything else? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it is a struggle. Right. Right. And that is something we're actually working through right now, because we have like these influencer strategies through, say, an experience plan. Like, this is my experience plan for what would Pop-Tarts do and how do I have an influencer there, right? What we're trying to get our brands to think about is like building that cultural relevance is every day. And what are those things that even fall outside of a typical experience plan? There's things in culture that pops up. So we're trying to understand the balance of more of an always on approach while also having these kind of like set moments in time. It's a big balance. I think we're doing it a lot more for, like, say, a Pop-Tarts, because we actually have a very focused, we know we're going after Gen Z, and we have a very kind of what would Pop-Tarts do is very broad. And we know there's some different points in time that we can keep on that always on approach, but something we're learning on. Yeah. Great question.
All right. I think, are we out of time?
Okay.
We're good?
We can do another question.
Does anybody have any? All right. Oh,
Carolyn.
Let the mic come so we can pick it up for people.
Sorry. As we think about, or as you guys think about increased investment with retail partners,
Yeah.
how do you delineate spend between the experience planning team and your shopper marketing teams?
Yes, great. So this is one of our changes. We just actually did a whole reorg of an omni team. We used to have ecom, we used to have shopper. Now it's a total omni team. And we actually have now kind of key points of contact into each of our categories. And what we're doing through an experience planning perspective, we're actually bringing them up front. Instead of we're building out our full experience plan, oh yes, what is our connection point into Omni? We're actually saying, no, get Omni up front into the brief. Where are those insights? Where are those shopper insights? They're actually driving the brief. And then we're trying to drive that connection all the way through. There's still going to be nuances where maybe more Omni, we're driving more category perspective versus brand. But that is like a big change even over the last few months, is bringing Omni upstream and building it into the experience plan. So.
great question. All right. Is that a wrap?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.